like, so, yeah.
All right. Hey, Fish, are you ready for the Brothers Super Bowl? They should call it that because the Kelsey brothers, they're playing on opposite teams. First time that's happened. And it's the first time the quarterback matchup is going to be two African-American quarterbacks. That's kind of the initial historic stuff. What's your initial take from what the Super Bowl is going to be?
I hate that bullshit. I hate the historic stuff. I mean, look, 75% of the NFL is African-American. And I hate when people bring that up because I don't know if the African Americans like when you bring that up. I know Doug Williams was pissed off when people asked him, "You're the first black quarterback to be in a Super Bowl back in '87." I know it's historical, but you know what? I would love the narrative to be, hey, it's a Super Bowl and the best two teams are playing, two number one seeds, right? The Kelsey brothers, you brought that up, but unfortunately, I wish there was a brothers team that went up against each other, but they both play offense. Nothing yesterday really stood out to me other than we'll get into it. Some bad officiating, but it pretty much went down as I thought. 49er fans are crying, but guess what? Go get a GoFundMe page for Hassan Reddick, who knocked two quarterbacks out in one game.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I think one of the things that made me realize was that that bye you get at the beginning of the playoffs was really both helpful to both teams because even though they had some injuries, both teams actually were. You could tell they were the better teams. Even though I thought the Bengals were gonna do something there, when they didn't have enough linemen that were experienced there, you see Joe Burrow was getting knocked around like he did in last year's Super Bowl. So I thought that was a big thing there.
Yeah, right. You got sacked 7 or 8 times. Chris Jones is a one-man wrecking crew. Wrecked the Raiders in the last game of the season. Wrecked Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville the week before, and was just atrocious on that Bengals offensive line. The game changed, I thought, because there's some officiating gaffes there. But when Burrow had a 3rd and 18 and hit Hayden Hurst for a 20-yard gain, I said, oh, my God, they're going to pull this off. Yeah. When he threw that interception, and then poor Chris Osai, the linebacker, had hit Mahomes out of bounds, one of the best players they have. Yeah. That you can't win a Super Bowl when you're throwing picks in the fourth quarter and you're making plays like that. And Kansas City's a better team, the 2 number 1 seeds. John, are you aware that the Philadelphia Eagles set a record this year? They have the most rushing touchdowns in the history of the league in one season, including the regular season and playoffs. So both deservedly so. It's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one too. And whoever controls that line of scrimmage is probably going to win that game. Hey, folks, welcome to Daily Fish, coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. I'm John Daly. He is Eric Fish Snyder, and we have the Hard Line with John Hardison from the Cost of Winning podcast and all of his sports betting advice. Unfortunately, Hardline cannot be with us today. He had some other commitments, but he said to say hello, and he gave us also his comments and advice on different things. So, folks, if you got questions or comments, drop them in the chat box, or if you're not watching us live, email us at dailyfish1, the number 1, dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, Fish, you touched on this about the officiating. I got to admit, I thought the officiating in both games yesterday was lacking a bit. Still, I think the call made on Osai that led to the field goal, I thought that was a good call. I know a lot of people were upset about that. I thought a little bit of the 49ers-Eagles game, I thought there was a couple of ticky-tack calls against the 49ers that I thought, I don't know. But usually it's people that are rooting for their team that are pissed off at that. What are you seeing? And why do you think officiating because it's really come under scrutiny, especially in the NFL and other leagues as well? Why do you think it's considered so bad now?
Well, I agree with everything you just said. And because you always bring up your great line ever is hero of their own stories. And these guys have to be the heroes of their own stories. Officiating, they want to take over. But there were some dumb calls. But to San Francisco, Fred Warner on a critical 3rd and 6, a blatant face mask on Boston Scott. There was hits out of bounds. Both teams that lost deserved to lose. The officials, there was gaffes, like I said earlier. Let me show you a couple of memes that I thought were interesting. This is a big church in Kansas City. I just got this. The Church of Christ, right there. God we know, an ankle isn't a top priority, but I love that. And then look at this. This is going to piss you off, John. This is the Empire State Building. They went green, and they put on their Twitter account, John, and said, in honor of the Eagles. Could you imagine the Patriots doing that? going in honor of the Jets. I was, oh my God, Dave Pinotti, Christine Furco, Ralph Facciano, all the people who work for Giants Insider goes, Fish, get that on your podcast because we won't, because we're going crazy right now. Interesting how who knows? Maybe the guy that runs the Empire State Building, their marketing is dating someone that's involved with the Eagles. Crazy, isn't it?
Well, and you're going to have a lot of people who will tell us, there's a lot of New York fans who are in New Jersey, and there's a lot of fans in Jersey that are Philly fans because they're closer to them. So I guess if you kind of consider New York City kind of a part of New Jersey as well, they may have done that. But I agree with you. I think that's a little strange in New York City to have
Well, back to officiating. I just want to get off that because we have such a good fluid show. And people are saying the chemistry between you and me is so good. Bullshit.
That's because we're on chemicals.
Yeah, the chemicals, yeah. Back to the officiating. I think what ruined it for a lot of people, ruined it for me with the NBA, was a Tim Donaghy fiasco that happened years ago that Netflix did a wonderful documentary on that they fixed games to get teams in it. So what you think that it's in the back of your head. And it's so tough. The problem with the NFL that makes it even worse is they have New York to go to. They have so many camera angles to go to, and they somehow still can't seem to get it right. I'm with you, though, and we'll move on from this. I'll get your opinion on this. I don't mind the calls, but I get pissed off at the ticky-tack calls. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And at the same time, too, I'm not crazy about, you got to film everything and you got to. But I think the technology is going to allow them to do more filming and checking. So, for instance, that first touchdown that the Eagles got, the Devontae Smith catch was a great catch, but we didn't see afterwards until he clearly dropped that ball. And the fact that, the 49ers didn't throw the flag on that.
That's on them. That's on them.
That is on them.
I agree with Greg Olson. By the way, he's terrific.
Isn't he great?
That crew is terrific.
Yes.
I'm just Brady better not retire because I don't want that guy to leave the booth. He's so much better than Tony Romo was. Oh.
Here's what's interesting, though, is that if Brady does retire, he's got a contract with Fox Sports, and that would push him out. And I think I agree with you. A lot of people are talking about how good he is and how good that crew is. And I'm drawing a blank. What's the play-by-play
Kevin
guy?
Burkhardt is the guy that does the play-by-play. Phenomenal.
Yeah. And here's what's interesting. He actually covered the Eagles, and he's going to be doing the game Super Bowl for Fox. So that's really interesting. I agree with you. I thought they did a great job on that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about all-star games. While you and I are prepping for the Super Bowl, we're going to have to endure the so-called NFL Pro Bowl game, Pro Bowl weekend in Vegas. I'm not going to be paying attention to that. What about you?
No, I talked about it last week on the show. That it's throwing a football from 50 yards into a trash can. It's obstacle courses and a flag football game, and it's pretty much not just an embarrassment. It actually it's for my intelligence right now, and it's not big. My intelligence, it's insulting. I'll go through all the All-Star games stink. They're done. The NBA's 180 to 185. 185, 180. The NHL game last year was 15-12. You don't see it. And again, the most watched baseball event last year was the home run derby.
Yeah,
more than any game. I love the home run derby. The All-Star game for me in baseball, I'll let you go, meant something for me when we were younger. When it was the only time that the American League would see the National League unless it was a World Series. Now you started interleague play years ago. Who cares?
Yeah. I agree. And again, one of the reasons I don't watch them is because I think there's other stuff to do. Like during the so-called Pro Bowl, I'm going to be watching the AT&T at Pebble Beach. During the All-Star game, I'm going to, NBA All-Star game, I'm going to be watching college basketball. Now, in defense of the leagues, if you're trying to get other people like young kids or other people who don't normally watch it and kind of get the celebrity aspect, okay, that's good. But don't expect you and me or really true fans to be watching that. So anyway, all right, folks, we love to eat and drink here on Daily Fish. So we asked, what are the best tailgating cities? Now, Hardline's not here with us. He gave us 3 really good ones that I agree with: Buffalo, Kansas City, and Philly. And Kansas City, and those are the three that could have been all in the Super Bowl. And Buffalo was always rated the best tailgating. Kansas City, can you imagine that with the ribs? And then Philly, oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Hard to disagree with that. Fish, give me yours.
Well, the ones I've been to, Chicago's phenomenal. The old Soldier Field. I mean, one thing about tailgating that adds to the whole experience of going to an NFL game is the smells of the parking lot. You smell peppers and onions and sausages and hot dogs and great pastas, and people make an event out of it. They sit there for 3 days and they bring these stoves, and you can walk, when you're in Oakland, I don't care who you are. You walk by someone's tent and they could be cholos and gangbangers and invite you to eat something, and you do. And it brings people together. That's what tailgating is so great, because you're there. It's your team, and you're there, and you're enjoying the experience. Oakland's great. Chicago's great. Here's a problem I have, and you'll agree with me. All the new stadiums here at Allegiant, right? San Francisco. We just saw the last week we watched the game in Santa Clara. Atlanta, Minnesota. All these new stadiums are purposely not having parking lots. They want you to go public transportation. They don't want tailgating. And I think that takes away from a part of the experience. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. I've got 4, and I'm going to say Chicago also. But I'm talking about Chicago at Cubs games. Chicago at Cubs games are really, really good tailgating. Baltimore outside Orioles games, those are really good. I've really enjoyed them. Here's one of the better ones, and college football has a ton of them. NC State has a great one. I've been to that. Clemson has a really, really good one. You can imagine all the great Southern food there. Here's one of that's a kind of surprise for everybody. Jacksonville for a Jags game. I actually was at that, and there was a ton of military guys who were military cooks. And I mean, they were cooking for, vast amounts of people. That was really good. But I got to tell you, Fish, and this is my bucket list tailgate. In Jacksonville, I want to go, and I want you to go with me, and we're going to do a show live there. It's the biggest outdoor cocktail party. It's in Jacksonville. It's when Florida plays Georgia in college football. And folks, if anyone is listening or you're watching us here, let us know if you've got tickets there and you want us to come down. We'll do our show from there. What do you think about that, Fish?
I think it's great, but I'm going to do a slam on one. You brought college into it. When I went to the University of Texas, our big rival was Texas A&M down in Kyle, Texas. Not only was the tailgating great, but you had guys that were there that auctioning off their wives and their sisters. It was so great. And it was you had shotgun weddings. You had brothels. I mean, that part of Texas that made the experience even better. So
I love it. All right, Fish. We have. Just think if we go to any, there'd be some great memes that you would have of us at that. Of course, we might not even make it to the game. All right. Speaking of memes, it's time now for Fish's memes of the week. What has hooked you this week, Fish?
Well, I want to do a celebration for the two cities that are in the Super Bowl, which is Philadelphia and Kansas City. And it reminds me of the old movie. God damn it. It came out in 1983. The Outsiders. Remember S.C. Hinton's book that we all had to read in middle school about the greasers and the socias? Yeah. Well, this is the rednecks versus the mechanics, blue collar against every barbecue eating toothless person that comes from Kansas City. And I say that, here's a prop, because I represent the Raider Nation, okay? And we're pissed off that the Kansas City Chiefs are so good. They're going through a run right now, John, that we went through with Kenny Stabler, and God bless him, Mahomes is a genius. So let's look at some of the famous people that are from Kansas City. Let's go through Philadelphia first.
Okay.
Oh, hang on a second. I messed up. Kevin Hart.
Yep.
Okay. Bradley Cooper. Will Smith. These are all famous people that are born and raised in Kansas City. Grace Kelly. Oh, look at that. And then we're going to go to the GOAT, Kobe Bryant. Okay. Yeah. These are all people, celebrities, athletes that are from the great town of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here's some of the people that are really from Pennsylvania and from Philadelphia that are big fans of Daily Fish. Look at this guy. That's a guy that tailgates there. Right. This is the old days when John and I were young. Look at that. That's when you had the brothel in the stadium. That's the hussy right there. This is a shotgun wedding in the old Wink, or actually the Vet Stadium. All right. And then this is actually the Philadelphia's #1 cheerleader. Okay. So that's very Philadelphia. Nice. Let's go to Kansas City. Okay. Kansas City has Melissa Etheridge, great country singer, great person. How about Harry S. Truman? Talked about him last week.
Yeah.
All right. Kansas City, born and bred. Look at these three, John. Rob Riggle, Paul Rudd, and Jason Sudeikis, all superstars in the business, all from
No
KC.
kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And then you got Don Cheadle.
Yep.
Love that actor. He was so great in Boogie Nights. You love John too. Then let's go to the downside of Kansas City. This is the real Kansas City people, right? This is the number one attire in Kansas City. That's a John Deere tractor hat.
I love the nose tattoo. Yeah.
Right. This is the mayor of Kansas City.
Wow. Nice. Just kind of like the mayor of Cincinnati, Perfect.
Yeah. Oh God, what an idiot, Brajol. And then look at this. Rose are red, areolas are pink. Show me yours and I'll buy you a drink. And then they got married. Look at that wedding. That's Kansas City wedding right there, buddy. Wow. That's your memes, kid.
I love the tire. Okay, there we are. Those are Fish's memes. All right, folks. Hey, thanks for joining us here on Daily Fish. We talk sports, entertainment, and politics and everything in between, just like you do. No woke, no extreme, no social justice cops here. You have a problem with us? Don't worry about it. Send us comments and questions. Send it to dailyfish1@gmail.com.
John, real quick, I have to go. I know it's not part of this little scasm in the show. I want you to talk about two people. I'll talk about it real quick. We just lost Billy Packer. And I know you're the biggest college basketball fan. And he did 37 Final Fours. Bobby Hull just died, one of the greatest hockey players of all time. We don't give a lot of lip service to college basketball and hockey. We will do more when football's over. But talk about, on the top of your head, what Billy Packer meant to you, because to me, he's the face of college basketball as far as an analyst.
He certainly was, certainly in the 70s and 80s and part of the 90s. He was a very calming effect. I think he was a newspaper reporter first, and then he ended up working with Jim Nantz. And it was when it was just about college basketball. Again, he wasn't out there by any means, but he certainly knew the sport. Had a very controlled and interesting way of describing it. And he also had a lot of, behind the scenes with the coaches that he could fill in. But from what I heard, and I met him one time, nice man, very nice guy, very sad to see that he has passed away. And he's really only been out of the booth, I think, maybe about 4 or 5 years or so, I think. So maybe it's been longer.
82 years. The slap shot in hockey is called the Bobby Hull slap shot. No one had a quicker slap shot. And Wayne Gretzky, even Alexander Ovechkin got nowadays, but the great one, Wayne Gretzky, they all test their game and their skills to Bobby Hull. And his son, Brett Hull, had a great career in the NHL. So, we like to give a rest in peace and a prayer to the families, but we're losing them. And these are great. Yep. Go on YouTube. YouTube's our biggest outlet video-wise. Go on YouTube and just type in some of Billy Packer's great calls and look at Bobby Hull play hockey in the 60s and 70s. And you'll see what John and I grew up with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, rest in peace to them. That's for sure.
Okay.
All right, now it's time for our schmuck, swag, and drink. All right, Fish, who's been schmucky this week?
Let me get the schmuck. I always got to get the icon, but
I'm sorry.
There's your icon. I hate to do this because he's a kid, and I always said to you, I love this kid. I love his name. Okay, who's that? Could that be Fish? A younger Fish? Look at the hair.
It could have been you.
Could that be Bernie Kosar? Yeah. I love this kid's name. That is Stetson Bennett. All right. He just got arrested for getting a DUI. All right. Yeah. I don't mind that because it happens. I'm a bartender. We avoid that at all costs. Any good bartender's job is to get you home. Why he's a schmuck? He got drunk and started knocking on every house in the neighborhood, knocking on the doors. And, when you hear a knock on the door at 2 or 3 in the morning, don't answer it. Could be Stetson Bennett. I will say this. But get a second chance. He does have the greatest name of any quarterback. That is I would say if he didn't have a career in football, he could be a congressman or a senator, but this little stain on his biography. But come on, man. If you're drunk, if you're going to get drunk, stay in your house. Don't knock on people's doors. Schmuck.
Well, what was worse was that he was at an NFL. It was like an NFL meeting or gathering of the prospects for the NFL draft. So it was kind of like, God, I hope he didn't hurt himself, but hopefully he didn't hurt anybody.
He didn't hurt.
All right.
No.
All right. So who are we celebrating this week? Fish, who's got the swag?
This is Terry Daly, John's beautiful wife. If Terry Daly wasn't in John's life, John wouldn't be the kind of person he is. She's just he definitely outkicked his coverage. This is her favorite athlete, who is named today the most charitable and does the most philanthropy of anyone in the history of the NFL. This is Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, he might not win NFL Man of the Year. He has, but I saw that little bit last night. If you caught watching the game, Romo was talking about it. He gives more of his time and more of his money to charitable events. And this is the number one player in your league. And that sets an example for young kids. And I think that's when you get swag with me, is when you're the top of your game. LeBron does it, top of his game. It's the athletes that don't do it, don't deserve it. But this guy is unreal.
I agree with you. And he does give back an awful lot. And so I think we need to toast him. We're going to toast him with our drink of the week. What are we sipping here, Fish?
This is a Heineken Zero. It's a it's a Heineken Zero. It's a non-alcoholic beer in lieu of, I'm trying to teach Stetson Bennett so he can get a political career going. Hey, you know what? If you're going to day drink, but have a beer that's at least non-alcoholic. It tastes the same.
Absolutely. There you go. Oh, I could drink those all throughout the whole show, and you wouldn't even know I was drinking. All right. So our Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town, where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast. You get a free drink. Do it the next day. Guess what? You get a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. Again, this is Daily Fish. We are on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can subscribe there. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. Watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. Check out Daily Fish on YouTube and Wingding TV, and check out our posts and news updates on Twitter. All right, now let's get some bets from the Daily Fish Hardlines. He is John Hardison. He has the Cost of Winning podcast focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. He's on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Again, Hardline cannot be with us tonight. He has some prior commitments, but he did give us some of his early bets for the Super Bowl, and he's telling me on texting. He said the Philly is a 1.5 point favorite today, but he said that line could change. Here's some of his interesting prop bets. Any player with a 60-plus yard reception, and that's at a plus 310. Opening kickoff will be a touchback. That's a money line bet at minus 142. This is a really good one. Miles Sanders and Travis Kelce both score the first touchdown for their team. That's a plus 1,700. Now, Fish, and comment on any of those that you think you might jump on. And then I know you've been working on kind of behind Hardline's back to come up with your own Super Bowl prop bets, right?
Well, you text Hardline about the prop bets. I'm texting him because he told everyone in the world, he always texts us to take San Francisco, right? So he's avoiding his book. He's on, hey, Joey, Vinny, he's on Route 40 right now, okay? He owes me money too. So go grab him. My prop bets go like this. Art Donovan, one of the great sound bites in the history of NFL, played for the Colts, said whenever he played in the big game, he used to eat sausage sandwiches of peppers and onions and Worcestershire sauce and horseradish, so his breath was so bad. Tony Siragusa didn't shower. Okay, same thing, and his breath stunk. I'm saying over under 25 players do the same. Okay, they're gonna put stuff. They're gonna put stuff in their crotches. The worst smelling thing, I think over under 25 is one of them. The second one is, do you think Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce will do a long embrace before the game or not? Okay. That's an easy one. The other one, the big prop bet is how many people from Kansas City will show up in Arizona and have a full set of teeth? I say over under 23. And in Philly, how many fans show up in Arizona over under 50 and don't have a really long felony record? Okay, that's my prop bets. Get us at dailyfish@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Let us know what you think.
That's cool. I wonder if in Arizona if they're going to build a jail for all the Philly fans that are going to come down there.
Good point. You know, have you been there, John? Glendale is a really nice area. It's about 30 minutes out of Phoenix, and it's a nice community. They have a Hyatt there for restaurants, but it's far out of Phoenix. I don't know if they built it up. I was there years ago for a Seahawks game against the Cardinals. So it's interesting. It's not really in Phoenix proper. Like the Super Bowl next February is in Las Vegas, and oh God, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this, and you know, it could tie into some prop bets there. My guess is that let me ask you this way. Next week, I don't know how many people you think are coming for the Pro Bowl thing. Do you think there's going to be a lot of people there? Because it's going to lead to another question for you.
I don't know. It's a great question because there was 500,000 people, maybe 600,000 came in for the NFL draft that we had last May here in Las Vegas. And a lot of them weren't Raider fans because we didn't have a first or second round draft pick. So it's Vegas. Yeah. And there's events around it for people. So there's discounts. Yes, I think people are coming for the Pro Bowl.
So let me ask you this then. The next question I'm going to ask is, since the game's in Glendale, and when the Super Bowl was always in Glendale, you know, and you know, this has probably been like the third or fourth time. And I can remember when I lived there, the amount of people who went to the Super Bowl, but what they did is they flew into Vegas, they stayed on the Strip, and then on Sunday morning, they flew down, went to the game. On Sunday night, they flew back and enjoyed Vegas. Do you think there's going to be more people that are going to be in Vegas than there will be in Phoenix for that game?
Yes, we sell out. Super Bowl capacity down on the Strip and local hotels is about 98%. Now, absolute. This is when there's not a Super Bowl in LA at SoFi or over in Glendale where the Arizona Cardinals play. So, yes, to answer your question, not only be people here in Vegas, you know, we get for the opening weekend of the NFL for March Madness, oh my God, you and your father-in-law, Dave, you had a booth at Caesar's Palace. For March Madness, the opening Thursday through Sunday, opening weekend NFL and Super Bowl is the highest capacity this town gets.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. No, that's wild.
You lived here. You felt. Look at you at March Madness. How packed? Oh, yeah. How packed was Caesar's Palace or all the casinos for those 4 days, and you couldn't get a seat in those sports books? Nuts.
Yeah, and those were the first 4 days. You know, when they did Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, you had to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, even though it was only the games are just about starting on the East Coast. And literally, and you know, God rest my father-in-law, Dave. I mean, I always March Madness is just him. I mean,
I got a story.
He came out. He came out every single year that I lived there, and we literally at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't get back until 10 o'clock at night. And my wife would always say, my father's here, and I never see him, and because you guys are done, I don't see him until Saturday when I can go down to the games. But it's nuts. And folks, if you're planning on doing it, I'd start planning right now. If you want to go out for March Madness, go start planning right now. Go ahead.
I got a great Dave story. So I go down to Caesar's Palace to join them one time, and John's father-in-law is assaulted. Earth, rest in peace. One of the nicest people you ever met. A gentleman, visual, young people. It looks exactly like Robert Duvall, the actor. So I go down to Caesar's Palace, and John's got his booth, and like I just said, his father-in-law is a gentleman, a nice person. I get down there, and before I see them, for they see me, and here's his dad. What the fuck? That wasn't a foul. He's going crazy because they're betting all the games. He's looking at this TV and that TV. That's bullshit. Fuck this. I'm dying laughing, right? John's dying laughing. So that's what happens when sports and betting, but it's so much fun to come out to Vegas. I know that we're not getting like a travel show, undercover jet setter for Vegas, but when you have big sporting events, this is the place to be to hang out.
I agree. In fact, you mentioned Undercover Jet Setter. If you go to the YouTube channel for that, I did a whole segment on how to do March Madness and how to do it right. So you can go take a look at that. But you know, here's what's interesting. You know, as much as Dave was like that, I was like that too. And so what we did was we agreed after the first year that we would bet together on the same one, and this way we could split the $11 bet because we were so cheap.
You are so full of shit. You because you were a celebrity at the time. Yeah, John, Dave's fuck this fight, and John's like, gosh darn, oh, Homer Pile, Balderdash, stop with this tomfoolery. That wasn't a foul. Great, you couldn't put that into a script. But let's move on, John, from you and your father-in-law. But it is great. I mean, you asked a question, will there be people for the Pro Bowl? Yes, and there'll be tons of people in Vegas just to go to watch parties to watch the Super Bowl.
Well, I'd love to see that as a prop bet. How many people are going to be in Vegas compared to Glendale? All right, folks, that is the Daily Fish Hardline with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. Again, you find him here with us, but also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. And again, Hardline will be back with us. Stick around as we're going to get you into a little bit more controversy. But first, hey, you need a great golf getaway? The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of golf courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. Do it now, folks. Do it now, because down here it's going to get really, really tough in the next 3 weeks to get some tee times. So I would say do it right now. All you got to do is go to this website. The website is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com, and Jack Tatum will be with you as well. Yes.
No, Lester Hayes.
Oh, it's Lester Hayes. Oh, it's 37. Okay, sorry about that.
Look at that. Look at those eyes.
Yeah, right. Perfect. All right, let's jump into a little controversy here, a little politics, what's been going on. Sad week. We're going to talk about bad cops. We all saw the tragedy in Memphis with 5 cops, and just recently before we went on, they arrested a 6th cop today, being arrested for the murder of Tyree Nichols. I guess the question is that I'll throw out there for us: what needs to change with the police departments? What do you think, Fish?
Training. I come across a lot of Metro officers that frequent Chuck's Tavern. 98% of them are good, but it's like life. 98% of the people you deal with are good, and you live in the fear of the 2% that are bad. It's training. It's I don't know. I'm not a police officer, but I do know this. I can't stand the people that say defund the cops and get rid of them, because what are you going to do at 2:00 in the morning when someone's breaking into your house? I can't stand that. And I'm a gun advocate, but there's gun advocates that say get rid of cops, take care of yourself. No, you don't want. When people come in to rob your house or do damage to you, that's their agenda. That's not your agenda. So they're probably more ready to take violence on you than you are to defend yourself. So I don't know, John. I scrapple this and I go through this, and to see that video was so disturbing to watch.
Yeah.
And you can't make it political. It's not a racial thing. Okay. We need cops. If you don't think we need cops, what's your solution? I'm always like, we know the problem. What's the solution? I don't have one.
Yeah. Well, I think you touched on it right there. I do think longer training that includes psychological training and also testing. If you look at other countries, for instance, Norway, if you want to become a cop there, you have to train for 3 years. And not until the last year do you actually get to go out in the streets to actually do police work. Another thing I would say is better pay. Better pay for the cops. A lot of these guys, they're not making a lot of money. No. So, what's the incentive to get better? And like you said, I keep telling people, stop saying defund the police. That's not what you want. You do not want to defund the police. You want to get police that are well-funded, but are also well-trained, educated, and they're there working for the community, not to cause problems in the community. I say, and I'm a gun advocate. I'm fine with guns, but ban the assault rifles. Sometimes these cops are outgunned. I mean, you talk to some cops sometime and they're like, hey, there's some stuff out there that we got to worry about. On the other hand, the state of Illinois just banned all, semi-automatic guns. And the people who opposed it were the sheriff's offices in the different counties. And it's kind of like, I don't know about that. So anyway,
here's a problem. I just said I deal with cops all the time, and wonderful, and some of my best customers are ex-police officers. The black market gun supply is outrageous. They 6 months ago, I'm talking to a police officer, and they pulled over. I told you this, 3 16-year-olds that had Uzis.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you're a gun advocate and you're strong in the NRA, how is a 16-year-old going to pass a gun? The gun. I'm pissed off. My dog's sitting out. My dog's out there, and it's pouring rain right now, and Sometimes dogs are idiots. I love my dog though. Background checks. All right, you can't pass a background check, and how do you have an Uzi? So there's drug money funneling in. It breaks my heart. I told you this last week. We have a ton of family in Australia, and my nieces always text me or they'll call me and go, Uncle Eric, what's going on? We don't understand why people shoot each other.
Yeah, no.
Would it be nice to live in a country where that wasn't even a talked about subject?
Yeah. Yep. Nope. I agree. All right. Let's. I want to talk about another topic here. This is a galling issue to me. Holocaust deniers. And what's worse, there are so many elected officials on all levels that will not believe in what happened in the late 1930s in the 1940s. I know this affects you and it affects me quite a bit.
It affects everyone because I'm it's family members, it's people that I know, and I grew up in a very, very diverse neighborhood of Italians and Jews. And Doug Emhoff, who's Kamala Harris, what do you call him? The second husband? How do you call that? What is that called?
He's the second person,
second husband or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm watching Morning Joe Scarborough because I'm flipping channels, and Doug Emhoff is at Auschwitz. It was Holocaust Memorial Day, Remembrance Day a couple of days ago, and he was just shocked, saying how many people in our Congress deny it, don't want to talk about it, don't care about it. These are our politicians, and I don't want to repeat myself. I said it last week. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And all these crimes, Asian crime, crimes against Asians are up. Crimes against anti-Semitism is up. Why are we going backwards, John, when we should be going forward? You are so good on bringing our viewership and our audience into what's going on technologically in our country and in our world to make our lives better. But our brain capacity to move forward and treat each other with respect and admiration is going south. That pisses the fuck out of me.
Well, and a lot of it's education. I mean, we're not teaching this stuff, or there's telling people not to teach this stuff. And I think also because we're getting to the point where a lot of people feel that they are not getting what they should be getting, and they're going to scapegoat somebody, and they're going to accuse other people. So it's someone of a different religion. It's someone of a different race. And it's easier to do. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's happening today is stuff that was happening in the 30s and 40s. And why? Because we were coming out of a depression. There was technology that was changing and doing different things at the time. So they were able to do that. And that's the thing we've got to keep. It's like what you said. You can't forget the past. You've got to remember what happened and look what it did to us. And unfortunately, it's probably, we're going to run into something again. And we probably have run into certain type holocausts that have happened recently that we don't know about. I mean, people could say that what the Russians are doing to Ukraine was part of one. It's a Holocaust on Ukrainian people.
Sad. It's sad. Sometimes I ask you this because you're Debbie Downer in our conversations. Do you wonder sometimes how humans still walk the planet?
Yeah. At various times. On the other hand, I do believe that the majority of people are not that way, and it's just a small few that are gaining steam and popularity that are causing problems. And it's for individuals who feel that they can make money off of it, they can get fame off of it, and that's what's happening. I mean, that's what Hitler did. Just go look at the history of what went on in the Third Reich and what they did, because they were pissed off after World War I. World War I, the Germans felt that they were mistreated by the Western Allies after that.
And isn't it crazy that I was reading an article about after the Geneva Accords, that I guess even as of today, present time, Germany cannot amass an army of more than 50 to 100,000 because in their past, the old Ottoman Empire, they're saying whenever they've got a huge military, they've attacked. And it's still to this day, I don't get it. I mean, that's something don't forget the past. But I mean, we need to move forward. And if we're going to move forward, like you said, technologically, and get people fed and get water to nations and get electrical grids going so we could not rely on fossil fuels, we need to treat each other better. Because if we're not here to take advantage of that technology, what the fuck are we doing? You know?
Yeah, I agree. I would, if anybody is visiting Germany, I'd go to the Dachau concentration camp memorial. I was there, very moving, very disturbing. And, people got to go back and see this stuff. I mean, that's the only way we're going to move ahead as a race, as a human race, to do that. So, but no, absolutely. And I think it needs to be talked about, and I think it needs, more of it. All right, folks, we are Daily Fish coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We hit sports, entertainment, and politics and other stuff, as you just heard. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel, Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. You can check out Daily Fish on YouTube. We're also on Wingding TV. We're also on Hey Vegas TV. You can go to Hey, VegasTV.com.
Okay.
Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. You can use all those channels to hear our interviews with special guests. We just had Bryan Cranston on not long ago. Go listen to that interview. Great interview. A lot of people are talking about how great it is. And you can also see all of our different posts that we put on during the week just to keep you guys updated. And also drop us an email at dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, before we go, Fish, a lot of people are talking about this and kind of wondering. And so Trump's gearing up for a run. He's already announced another run for the White House. Do you see him at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue again as the president?
I'm so enamored with my dog. How beautiful the dogs are and their dispositions and running in the rain. It's just, we're talking about the end of the world, and you got yours. And my dog is loving the rain and running around and wants you to Trump. Wow, the most polarizing guy, but he just. When he talks, the charisma. He was talking in New Hampshire the other day, and he goes, "I'm more pissed off and angered than I ever was." And all I think about is, I go back to this, and this is almost, it seems like we're doing a rerun of other shows. Where are all the goddamn indictments that everyone says were coming? Where's Merrick Garland and his indictment? Because I'm watching CNN this morning. I'm watching Jim Ciuto, Poppy Harlow. I'm watching Fox. They're all talking about Trump. And when he runs, who's going to be his running mate? Not one fucking broadcaster is talking about if he gets indicted, what's going to happen. All right. So the media has killed the narrative that this guy's going to be in jail or anything, because they're all moving on that he's going to have a major battle with DeSantis. So you're asking me, can I see him in 1600? Yes. Because who's going to run for the Democrats? Who? I don't think Biden's running. Do you? Bless you.
Thank you. I'm not certain. I don't know that Trump. I think he's got a good chance of winning the nomination, but I think some indictments are coming down in the next couple of weeks, if I had to guess. Will he still run? Probably. Will it hurt him? Maybe. Right now, he's leading the pack of GOP candidates, at least according to a number of polls that I'm looking at. He's not running away with it. There's also an indication that there are enough Republicans who are kind of getting tired of him, especially some in Congress. Still, too many of them are, they're. And what annoys me is that I don't mind it if somebody mocks Biden for his verbal gaffes, but they seem to ignore Trump's gaffes. And what's scary to me is there's just enough inflamed Trump followers that can cause problems whether he wins or loses. I don't think he wins again. I don't think the American people will put him back in the White House. He's just too polarizing. And I think I talked to a lot of people that I know who voted for him and said, I'm not voting for him again. I just don't want it. And it's rare that somebody loses an election and comes back and runs again. It's very rare that you see that in American politics. And I just don't think it's going to happen.
I agree with you. You got to fact check everything Donald says. And you know what? Biden's older, and if you make a gaffe, I make gaffes in every show. You go and fact check me in every show, you're gonna think this guy's an idiot. How did he ever get any kind of education? Not does he look like a schmuck, he's letting his dog run in the rain. So no. The one thing I'm concerned about is going forward in 2024, because we talked about this whole show on our politics side about gun issues and talking about Holocaust. This country more than ever needs one word, and that's leadership. And I think in 2024, we're going to need someone out there that's a leader that can bring together all the division there is in this country. I don't think there is. Trump, I mean, Biden's a good guy, but
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone. I don't think there's people on the GOP that care about bringing people together. I don't think there's people on the left that care about bringing people together. I'm concerned moving forward as a grandfather. Every generation thinks about what's going to happen next. What are we doing to leave you something, a legacy? I'm worried about leadership, and I think most of our viewers and listeners are too.
Yeah, I think you're right, because we're so polarized, and you're either on one side or the other. There's very few people who are like you and me who see things from both sides. You see some good things that are there. Unfortunately, the majority of people are running to the extremes, so you can't see anything from them. But there are different things, and you're beginning to hear a couple of Republicans who are saying, hey, I'm going to vote to allow some Democrats on certain committees that McCarthy doesn't want. So I think you're beginning to see that. And at the same time, too, we're right in the middle of major social, technological, demographic changes. And, 9 times out of 10, our lawmakers, they're not ahead of the game. They're behind the game. It's the businesses that are ahead of the game on these different things. And so it's going to take a while. And I think we're going to, we're going to have a lot of upheaval, a lot of angst, and a lot of really pissed off people, especially over the next 2 to 4 years. I think it's going to go right through the 2024 election.
It's agendas. I've never seen it. People say I talk too much about when I was a kid and what you and I lived as kids. Well, it was a great childhood. It was a great time. Yeah, we had problems. We had racism. We had the threat of communism and nuclear war. We had anger. But we had a government most of the time that John and I were younger that worked together. My favorite line is Tip O'Neill said, I couldn't stand President Reagan. I thought he was a son of a bitch. But at the end of the day, end of the week, we'd have a martini together and did what was right for the country. Who's going to break that? Who's going to go back to that? Okay. When are we going to stop worrying about everyone's own agendas and start saying, okay, let's do what's right for the common good and common man? Maybe I should run. Can you imagine me running for president? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be right behind you. I'd be working with you.
I don't want you. You're too good looking and you don't curse. Okay. Remember that great line from the movie Falling Down when the guy says to Robert Duvall, your father-in-law, and he says, I don't like you as a cop. I don't trust you because you don't curse. You got to say a fucker or shit once in a while. And well, you're out.
Here's the problem though. The majority of people who are lawmakers, they make way too much money through special interests, and they're not going to give that up. So they're more concerned about the special interests that are paying them a lot of money. And if you go do a survey, and they've done surveys on this, go take a look. Anybody who's in Congress, they spend a third of their time on the phone raising money. They've got an office right outside the Capitol that they go to because you can't do it. You can't do it on government time or on government property. And they're spending a third of their time raising money for special interests to get reelected. And when they get reelected, what do? They take care of those special interests by passing laws.
John, go get Nike. I want the audience to see what life is, and it's good. Turn.
Hey, buddy. Hi. Want to come on in and see fish? Yeah. Yeah. Look. See, there's Molly.
That's great. I'm playing with my dog with the towel, getting him dried off. That's John's dog, Nike. We're going to bring Nike on almost every show we do because I'll say it. Nike's going through some health issues. And God, when John lived here, Nike's about 15 years old. And we want the world to be Nike's. And my dog's name is Molly because we're big animal advocates here on Daily Fish. So Nike, I got to do a shout out. I work at Chuck's Tavern. And my bosses are a father and son team named Josh and Jeremy, the biggest Eagles fans on the planet. But they're not cocky. They're great Eagles fans. And they got a chance as father and son in the 2017 season to watch them win the great Nick Foles run that they had. And I'm excited for them. I'm not kissing ass from like that. Look, I'm a Raider fan, so I have no dog in the race. But it makes it easy to root for those guys because they're playing the Chiefs, and I can't stand the Chiefs because I'm a Raider fan. So shout out to those two guys. You get to watch your team playing a Super Bowl as a father and son, and that's I've done that. I've been able to watch the Raiders with my dad win a Super Bowl, and there's nothing better than that.
Yep. No, I hear you. My years with the Pats certainly enjoyed watching them and following them. There was a lot there. So
John, good. We got a few minutes here. I need a 12-step program. I'll be honest with you. In my life, I've been through anger management therapy, couples therapy. I believe in therapy. You know me. I'm a huge football fan. Huge. I hate to say this to our audience, but I never watched another baseball, hockey, or basketball game. I wouldn't lose any sleep. I loved other sports, but I love football. And now it's down to one game. All right. I need help. I mean, I have a wonderful wife. I have a grandkid. I got a son, daughter-in-law. It's great. Friends up the ass. But, I mean, that Sunday when you get up and you watch football is so cathartic for me.
Yeah.
I know what you do. You play golf. I can't. My back's fucked, so I can't play golf anymore as much as I want to. I do work out. Is there any – I mean, what do you – I know you were into, like, going to Great Poupon societies and trying, medallions and different kind of caviar from the Caspian Sea. That's not me. Okay, so I need people to call in the Daily Fish, all right, and say, Fish, we have a new hobby for you. This is something that we think would interest you because you're not an elitist like John. I mean, look at John. John's holding that dog like he's one of the Rothschilds, you know.
He is.
Nike, today we're going to take a ride and we're going to go down to a bistro and we're going to try a fine wine that they think is called a rosé, but it's really a Ruchelet. You know, I need help. So I'm reaching out to our audience. On that note, get us out of here.
All righty. Well, we'll find something one way or another for you, Fish. And
all right, buddy.
I'm sure it'll be okay. But Nike, you want to say goodbye to everybody? Yeah. Can you say goodbye to everybody? All right.
Bye, Nike.
All right, buddy. I signed us out before, so we are all set. Good show. And folks, we'll be back next week in between. What are we going to talk about next week? I hope it's going to be college basketball because my Friars are doing really good.
College basketball it is. Talk about college basketball. We'll talk about, look, that we're not going to talk about the Super Bowl because everyone's going to get so tired of all the Super Bowl talk.
Yeah.
And it's 2 weeks is a long time. We'll find something to talk about.
Okay. All right. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us again.